Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here in Super Entrevistas. So we have Sarah Piper here with us. Uh, she does a lot of things. She does like a lot of energy alignment work. She's been working with creatives and artists as well. Like I know that you're involved in many projects. Um, so tell us what you do and a little bit about you, and we'll get this started.
Sure. Yeah, I get a bit excited. I do a lot of different things. So my background is diverse. So I'm a primary school teacher. I've done many arts projects in different capacities. I studied film and international relations. I've worked a lot in like community development. And more recently, I found myself in social enterprise and different arts spaces. And and as you mentioned, energetic alignment and spiritual seeking and tools and techniques and personal development. And that's a path I've been on for probably 8 or 9 years. And so I sort of weave all these things into one another, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about energy alignment. So what is energy alignment and how it can help us, to be healthier?
Yeah, cool. Well, when we think about energy, I guess it depends where on our upbringing or our social context or our own definitions of what energy is. But if we think about it, energy and the concepts of subtle energy, which is what I work with, prana, chi, mana, life force, um, is a pervading presence in the universe. But to make it more physical, it's something we experience. We know when we feel flat, or we know when we walk into a room and it's like, oh, something's not quite right here, or things are feeling light and relaxed or exciting. Like we sense these things with our body and with our mental aspect and our emotional aspect and our energetic aspect. And actually all of these things are interconnected, even if we're not aware of them. So I like to call the work that I do with energy, I've studied lots of different healing modalities. And what I found, sometimes people found the word healing a bit difficult to compute. They're like, oh, but I don't have something wrong with me, so I don't need that. And it's not really
Right.
about having something right or wrong with you. It's not about that. It's just about, that's why I like to use the word alignment. It's like, cool, like we could get thrown out in our day because we're bombarded with advertising and what other people think and the germs and the pollution and whatever it might be. And sometimes in all that, we lose our center,
Right.
or we're
Find the balance.
overstimulated. Yeah, because ultimately that's, dis-ease is not ease, right? In the physical, and same goes in the energy body, because things manifest in the energy body before they manifest in the physical body. So if we can consciously work to keep our energy system in alignment, then that's going to help us mentally, physically, and emotionally. And of course we need to still, do all the other things like our mindset and our diet and exercise and all those things. It's all part of the pie, all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah. You were mentioning, that energy is something that maybe some people are not in tune with, or they are not sure what we're talking about. And you mentioned like the feeling that you get in a room and something's odd, like, something's going on, and you have no physical connotation of what that is. Like it's not that you're looking at faces of people, you just have the feeling that something's off, right? Or maybe, like I always think about energy and like when you know that someone is looking at you and you're not seeing that person.
Yeah.
And you have that feeling that someone's watching me and you're like,
Yes.
well, what's going on?
Yes.
Right? Or someone approaches you from behind and you don't see that person, but you start to feel
it.
Like you see that something's coming, right? And you haven't heard any sound or you haven't smelled anything. It's not like you physically notice that, but there is this radar of like, call it, energy, or call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can still feel that, right? So I just wanted to touch on that. So So people that, because, energy word has a bad rep, right? It seems like something that's super mystical, and only people who are in this spiritual realm are in touch with that, but it's something that is with us on a daily basis. So,
yeah, that's right. And that's what it's about, like grounding it in the day to day. It's like it's not separate. It's not this thing over there. And like you were saying, with feeling someone watching you, I think there was scientific experiments done on that, and it was measured. Like there was a biochemical reaction when someone felt someone else looking at them. And it's really cool. It's exciting that there's more research going into validating some of these concepts, or these techniques or tools that people know have been beneficial in their lives, and using science to meet that and be like, actually, yeah, it works physically. And
yeah, because sometimes it's difficult when there's no proof, of what we're talking about, right? And then it sounds something that you need to like do a leap of faith almost. Like it's like I need to jump here and just believe that this is what it is. But yeah, there have been a lot of research in different areas, like even in the magnetic fields of the heart, and like different things like that. You can feel other people's emotions and other things.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you, like, since you do like these energy alignment sessions, right? So what is an energy alignment session? Like, what do you do, right? Like, how do you work with a person and know, oh, there's something that I need to work on? Like how do you know if something's off in the alignment, and how do you work with them to help them on that?
Yeah, sure. Cool. So in a session with somebody, I use scanning. Pranic healing is one of the modalities that I've studied a lot in. And in pranic healing, we use this technique called scanning. What is it? It's like, and anyone can learn to do it. It's learning to sensitize your hands to feel subtle energy. And that then, the more you practice that, that becomes like the diagnostic tool, along with your intuition and your experience of understanding energetic anatomy. That's what I like to call it. So it's not this woo-woo thing. It's actually a modality that's been tested and validated and tested and validated. And when you look in the textbooks, there's like, you look up the cases. Okay, this person has short-sightedness. Like there's things I'm like, what is that? I don't even know. And then there's explaining what happens in the energy field and how to bring that into balance. So I use I tune into the higher powers and connect in with that, and find a centered space within me, because I'm just a tool. And I sensitize my hands, and then I tune in and feel the state of that person's subtle body. So their chakras. Now, people have varying levels of understanding of what chakras are and all that sort of stuff. They're whirling energy centers. It's sort of like if the soul, or your higher self, or whatever word you're comfortable with, is like the CEO, then your major chakras are like the department heads. And then you've got mini and minor chakras that are like the little worker bees doing other smaller specific jobs, right? So it's this whole system doing its thing. But what happens is, depending what's going on with us in our lives, with our health, our well-being, our mental state, these could be congested, so a bit blocked, a bit like, there's too much going on here, or they could be weak. I'm trying to like just simplify it, but and so ultimately then I use different tools and techniques and color vibrations, which color holds different frequencies, and different frequencies have different functions. So I use that to bring that system into balance. And then what I'm finding more and more, particularly over the last 6 months probably, the sessions also become a bit of a fusion of coaching. So I'll bring in other aspects of things that are coming in intuitively, like clearing specific patterns or blockages, getting rid of loop thoughts. Have you ever had a loop thought, like something that is again and again and again? Yeah. So just like, cool, what is it? Let's get rid of it.
And I want to ask you about that, since you talked about this, right? Like, I've always had the feeling that thoughts are so powerful, and it's not only about what you think, but it's the effect of what you think has in you.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
And so you were mentioning, that thoughts also can have an effect on your energy and how you feel. So how how do you see that in the energetic fields of that, right? Like how the thoughts or negativity, maybe these loopholes that you were saying,
Yeah.
have an effect on us, and how do we move away from this?
Yeah. So it's sort of like thoughts are like seeds, right? So if we plant them and then we feed them, they're going to grow. They're going to get stronger. If we plant them and then we leave them alone, they're probably going to die. They're not going to grow, right? So what we, energy follows thought. What we put our intention on magnifies. And of course, this becomes exacerbated over time. And then physically, our neural pathways and our habits and our patterns and our ways of being as a human strengthen those things. So they're almost like little speech bubbles in the aura.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. And so it becomes a matter of being aware, and that's a lot of mindfulness meditation, is be aware of your thoughts and not attaching to them and all that sort of stuff. And all of that's fantastic and that's great. And in the work that I do and lots of other people do, it's getting to the crux of what is that thought form, the one that has the charge, the ones like that when you sort of dig and then you're like, oh, that's it. If we get to the root of the root of the root and nip it in the bud, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what we can do with this sort of focus work and other modalities that do that work. So yeah, it's really important, because it's almost like, it's like doing gardening, like pulling out the weeds.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we've all got stuff from society, from our upbringing, from school, from wherever it comes from, so much of this stuff isn't even ours.
Yeah.
And don't always not always conscious of the impact it's having on our lives. So I always think cleaning up is a good thing to do.
Yeah, spring cleaning in your mind as well,
Yeah.
You need that. You mentioned something before that we were talking about the chakras, that you work with them to align the energy of the body. And one of the things that I always think about is like, you said that they could be weak or they could have, some challenges, and you can help, bringing that into alignment. But is there any way to strengthen your chakras? Like, how do you make it like Hulk, like super strong, and the day falls, anything that's coming in?
Yes, awesome. Such a good question. Well, different chakras have different foods, because they're governing different aspects of us. So they're going to be fed by different things. But of course, exercise is actually really good at physical exercise, good at cleaning the chakras. Because why? Because when we exercise, so our chakras, clairvoyantly, they rotate.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like absorbing, right? They're absorbing subtle life force energy, and then they're dispelling, like, and when you exercise, they move faster, which means they're cleaning faster. So that's always a good thing. Other good things are developing your character. Yep. So developing your heart, developing, generosity, and not just developing these things physically. Like, people might think, oh yeah, like generosity and non-stealing, cool, got it. But it's like, but how am I practicing that? Like for me, I have to be like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I'm not going out there robbing from someone's house. But you've got to be, are you stealing someone's reputation in the words that you're using? Or are you stealing someone's intellectual property? Or, like mentally, what is stealing? Emotionally, what is stealing?
Yeah.
Like getting it at other, refining those things and reflecting and doing that purification, not in a dogmatic kind of way, but in a reflective way of like, oh, okay, I'm going to reflect on that. Does that work for me? Is that aligned with the person I want to be and where I want to go? All of these things are really important. Healthy diet, service to other people, doing meditation. Another really great thing to clean the energy body, something that's really simple and easy and non-woo-woo is salt showers. And it doesn't have to be like fancy Himalayan salt from the mountains of the best guru in the world. Like it, just normal salt. Just salt, right? And again, with your intention, right? So what I do is I just have a jar in the shower, salt and water, and intention, because water absorbs and salt disintegrates. Why do we feel great by the ocean? Why do we feel good after we've swum in the sea, right? Clearing the energy, it clears the energy fields. The salt is so powerful. And we, how many cultures use salt water for things, or even gargling salt.
And I feel like the scrubs, the salt scrubs, or the Epsom salts, like things that we use in the bathtub for fun, that they smell good, they have salts on it, and so there's a reason for it. It's not just random, that they're using salts. Like it helps us release in a way, and
exactly. So washing off your day and like with intention, salt. I'm cleansing myself of all dense energy. I'm letting everything go from today, or whatever, whatever resonates for you. If you want to visualize green light or white light or purple light purifying you, and all the gunk, all the yucky stuff just going into the drain, and rinse yourself off after you've done the salt. So don't get out of the shower with the salt still on, because that's absorbed the crap that's around. So you just want to rinse that off.
You touched on visualization a little bit, like thinking about light or green light, and I always have this thing that when I go to the shower, I think that I'm getting all the black things out of me, like
there you go.
Like draining and going down, and then I feel like and maybe it's like a mental exercise, but I feel like it helps in a way. I'm like, I'm being clean of all of that I don't need anymore, and I'm just getting out of the shower with my full energy, and like I'm eating this day, and for me it helps, like getting into that mindset, right? So how can we use visualization to help us get in touch with our energy system? Like how can we use it as a tool for us to be in tune with ourselves? Because I'm sure that you might have clients that they're like, something's up, but I'm not sure exactly where, I'm not sure exactly what, and so how do you tune in into your own energy and know where are things off, or what can you do to make them better?
That's an awesome question. And I guess there's lots of answers to that, and maybe it depends on different people, but one thing that's really simple, maybe not always easy, is to close down the eyes. Why do we close down the eyes? Because it's one less sensory input into the outside world. So doing that and doing body scans and observing what's there, because a lot of the time when there's any pain or discomfort in the body, sometimes we're really tempted to just be rid of it, like, oh, go away, like this is an inconvenience and I'm feeling this ache or pain or whatever it is. And sure, that's there, but what's underneath that? Because ultimately it's a communication,
right? Like your body's talking to you.
It's communication. Yeah. So
and would you say that sometimes we numb this language, like we don't want to hear it, like we are just blocking that? Like how do we learn to listen to this body who's talking to us, who's telling us, hey, don't do this, like I don't like
that. Great question. I guess it's about cultivating little things as daily practices, and we can starting small and making it a consistent thing. Maybe it's like taking 2 minutes 3 times a day or 5 times a day to be like, I'm going to stop and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to count my breath and I'm going to do a body scan, or I'm going to make time to do something that helps me to unplug from everything, from all the stimulus. Like I'm going to set limits on how much screen time I have, or I'm going to meditate every morning, or whatever that is for you, like carving out that time and space to cultivate those things in ourselves, so then we become more available to listen. Maybe it's journaling as well, because the more we're cultivating that, then the more we're fine-tuning our ability to sense those things. And not just in a, ooh, sense it, but, just like listen to ourselves. Another thing is thinking, this is quite a handy one for women, but also for men, is thinking and tuning in and listening with the mind, the heart, and the womb. So if there's a question that we're contemplating, a choice that we're considering, carving out some time to listen to, like, okay, always go with your intuition. And sometimes it's hard, it takes time to discern, is that my ego, is that or is that my intuition? And intuition's and so it's sometimes like, oh, what is that? If you ask the same question and keep doing it from that space of centeredness, you'll know. Just trust that you know that you know. So asking the questions of your mind, your heart, and your womb, and it's like, does this say yes? Does this say yes? Does this say yes? Okay, it's a full yes. Or is it a yes, no, yes? Ooh, what's that about? And being curious. And maybe you don't need to psychoanalyze it. You just need to go, no, don't need to justify it. It's a no. Or does it feel light? If someone says, do you want to come to the movies tonight? Does that feel light, or does that feel, doesn't make it anything wrong about the person that's asking you. Maybe your body's tired, or maybe there's something else that that serves you better. Maybe you need to stay home and have a bath or something, just taking that moment, taking time, because so often, like, we're just, rushing along.
And I think it's touched on something that I've always been interested in, and it's the fact that I feel in this society we're all in our heads, right? And then everything else is sort of not important, not in the picture. My intuition doesn't make any decisions. Everything has to be rational. I need to write it down. But I think that we've all had these kinds of situations that your logic is saying, just do it. And you're like, nah. Like, something is off with this. And although I have no logical reason not to do this, I know I don't have to do it. And I think that everybody can get in touch with that sometimes, because it's so strong that you cannot not hear it. And so you have to hear it, right? So how do we hear it intentionally? Like, not when it's screaming out, like, hey, you gotta listen to me, this is important, don't do this. But it's like in the little things on the everyday, because I feel that all of us sometimes we end up doing things that they seem right, but they don't feel right. And so this is when you are sort of out of yourself, and I don't know if this is something that you notice, that when you're going against yourself but rationally talking yourself into it.
Oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah.
And you're like, I know it's wrong, but I'm like, sort of everything makes sense, in my head.
Yeah, it looks like the right thing to do. Yeah.
How do you learn to tune into that when you want to, right? Because I feel that we go in this autopilot, and we don't do that. And it's only when it screams that it's like, okay, I hear you. But like, how can we do this, on the everyday? Like, how do we do that inner intuition?
Great question. Because you're right. Like, I think pretty much, if not ourselves, we would know somebody who's made a decision based on their feeling. Or how many people have we heard say, oh, when I met my partner, I just knew, or when I got that job, I just knew it was right, or I just knew it was wrong. They just knew, right? And a lot of successful business people, they're like, oh yeah, I make decisions from my intuition or from my gut feeling. So it's cultivating that. Oh, something came to me and now it's gone. What was it? Intuition. Mm.
This thing,
Oh,
you got it. And
yeah. Like, oh, discerning. Like discerning what's intuition, what's ego, which we talked about before. Something, it came to me and now it's gone.
it will come back. It will come back.
It'll come
Don't
back.
worry.
Let's just keep talking. Yeah. I was like, yes, that's the, yeah. That's okay.
But it's I think that it's interesting that that we don't hear as much the other voices, right? Like sometimes it's only when it's something truly important that our body's screaming like, no, listen to me. But how would you say that like this integration, right? Because in the end it's mind, it's heart, it's the boom or the intuition, the gut feeling. Like how this integration or not, the lack of integration plays a role when someone is aligned or not aligned, like when their energy is off or it's spot on, and everything is in its place.
Like, what does it look like when they're not in that space?
Yeah.
Oh, well, fragmented.
Right. Like,
yeah. Disconnected from themselves, most importantly, like, and just because the outer reflects the inner, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like, cool, how's that showing up in somebody's life? Because often from studying the different qualities of our energetic anatomy, you can get a sense from tuning into where, like, the state of someone's energy field. It tells a bit of a story of what's going on.
Right.
Like, okay, your basic chakra is tiny, so you're depressed or you're not grounded, or, it all paints a picture depending on what else is going on with somebody. So ultimately we want consistency, and that's where it comes, like I said, with character building, and it's like grounding, and then knowing, like, we have different types of intuition, like gut feeling, and then we have higher intuition. And what's intuition? Inner tuition.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned that grounding, right? And I don't know, like I know in English speaking countries, grounding is something that's very, very popular, but in Spain or Spanish speaking countries, it's something that people are not yet in tune with, or it's not as common. So tell us a little bit about what is grounding and how it can help us with our alignment.
Great. So grounding is connecting in with our lower chakras and with Mother Earth, or with Earth. And why is that important? Because we're here on this physical plane. So grounding can be look different to different people. So it can be, you can do like physical exercises that involve the legs squatting, and it doesn't need to be heavy squats, but with the intention from your hands and from the bases of your feet and your tailbone that you're centering down into the earth, like roots of a tree going down, 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 using your intention. Other things that can support you in grounding might be diet, and that's different for different people and what's going on with different people. But I know in Ayurveda, in Indian Ayurveda, they say people who are Vata, too much air, they need more cooked foods that are more grounding. So that's another thing to think about with people. If they're a bit airy, what can they have? Root vegetables, or more carbs, or more cooked things that help to ground them. It could also be like, what actions could I take that are going to anchor me more in the earth? Is it playing sport? Is it taking actions in my workplace? Like, yeah. So, but definitely the intention every day, and intending that I'm deeply connected to Mother Earth, and I'm safe here, and I flourish here, and I'm supported, you know, things like that. Because sometimes the reasons, and there's of course many reasons for different people, and it's not a blanket thing, but sometimes for people who are airy fairy spiritual floating up here, there's a disconnection with Earth, or there's an incongruence, or they're finding it hard to be here. And I get it. Like I can be that person too. Like it can be
yeah.
yeah, like can be like, where are we? What is this? You know? So then it's like, okay, maybe I need to unplug from the stimulus out there. Like maybe I need to not watch the news or random television, because that's another thing about diet. Like we think diet's what we put in our mouth, and yes, that is part of diet. But what are we looking at? What are we listening to? What words are we saying? You know, like one of my teachers, he says, and of course he says, you know, loving kindness, and try to avoid eating meat, but you know, everyone's different. You've got to make your own choices about what works for your body. But he says, what comes out of your mouth is more important than what goes in it.
Exactly. That's so true, you know, because in the end, what you say, it can be nourishing, or it can destroy someone or yourself, right? So what you say is so important, and not only what you say, but how you say it as well. And that it's a good place, you know. I feel that that when you are compassionate and empathic to yourself and to other people, everything's easier. The difficult thing is to get there, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we were mentioning during our chat body scanning. So what do you say if we finish up like doing some sort of body scanning exercise so people can take this away and practice that to get in tune with their energy?
Yeah, cool. Okay, let's do it. Okay. So let's all close our eyes. And the first thing I'd like us to do is tune in to the breath, because breath is such a powerful thing. And if we cultivate it and work with it, it can really serve us, you know. It's free, it's there. We breathe about 20,000 times a day. But how are we breathing? So right now I'd like us to cultivate breathing into our diaphragm, into our bellies, and just letting our shoulders drop. They don't need to go anywhere. Our chest just gently being there. And having an open posture, so arms faced up or arms on your heart, or if there's a part of your body where you feel you want to be receiving extra nurturing and you feel you want to have your hands there. And sometimes the mind will do its monkey mind thing, and that's okay. But to help anchor the mind, we're going to do some counting of the breath, rhythm and retention of the breath, like in pranayama, like different breathing practices. This is important. And I like to think of this one as like a rectangle. If you like visualizing, if you don't, that's cool. But inhaling for 6 counts. So inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold that for 3, 2, 3, and exhale for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold for 3, 2, 1, and inhale. And sometimes that helps to give the mind something to do, to just anchor into the breath. And to just be with the rhythm and retention of the breath, because that's also allowing the energy body to settle and the physical body, the nervous system, to relax. And we're going to do some noticing, some body scanning. And we're going to start with our toes. And just being aware, and again, like we talked about with the body speaking to us. Do you want to give them a little wiggle or tense and release them? What can you observe? And observing your foot, the base of the foot, the soles of your feet. Do they feel anchored to the earth? Could you hold the intention that they're anchored on like magnets? The intention that when you wake up in the morning, like magnets, they go doing and activate onto the earth. And observing up the legs to the knees, into this part of our system. Being open to anything that feels a bit funny or anything that feels good, and observing that. Often when we bring awareness to things that are there, then the resistance dissipates. So being aware of something and bringing it to the light, to our awareness, is a huge step in integrating or understanding what it's trying to teach us or tell us. And moving up our thighs and into the hips. And a lot of women and men hold a lot of stuff in the hips sometimes, so observing what's there. And using that breath with intention to disintegrate any blockages. May my breath disintegrate any and all blockages that my system's ready to release today. And into our pelvic region, and into our womb. If you feel guided to put your hand on your womb, you can, and feel the pulse of your womb. Place of creation, creative energy. Anything it wants to communicate to you. Also anything it's asking of you. Carving out time to listen. Moving up to the solar plexus. This is a place where we can hold a lot of anger or stress energy. So this is the one to focus on when we're doing our salt showers. And with our breathing work, to really let things go. Because sure, it's where those emotions get seated, but it's also where things like courage live. And it also impacts our digestive system. And if left untreated, moves up into the heart region, stress, things like this. And the heart center. And something that's really nice to do with the heart is smile at your heart, externally and internally. And say loving words. Sometimes there's words we're waiting for people outside of us to tell us, but what if we could be the ones to say them? What if we could generate that? Because we can. So any of those words, saying them to your heart center. And as we were chatting about before, the field of the heart is incredible. Amazing resource. Side note, heart math. Check it out. Really cool. And moving up into the throat. How does it feel physically, emotionally, energetically? Is there something unsaid? Is there something that wants to be expressed? And moving up into the head, into the face, noticing any tension, maybe giving our facial muscles a bit of a wriggle. Relaxing them. And any part of the head area. And now, while we're in this space, I just want to set an intention. I just want you to do a quick visualization that there's a beautiful rainbow pillar of light, like a big cosmic spotlight from your head all the way down to your feet. And anything that's come up for you, just intending anything that you're ready to let go of, any pain or discomfort. Just seeing that being flushed out of you, and like there's drains at your feet, like the drains in the shower, and it's just washing you and cleansing you. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, just receiving that into every cell of your being, into the trillions of cells in your body, just allowing that. And checking in to see if your breath has become more shallow, and if it has, that's okay. Just how can you cultivate it to allow it deeper into your system, allow more oxygen to circulate throughout your body, allow your mind, your nervous system, your energy system to be receptive. Letting go. I let go. I let go. I let go. And intend that this clearing is also bringing in energizing wherever it's needed, an alignment. And affirming, I love myself, I trust myself, I can hear my intuition. I love myself, I trust myself, I can hear my intuition. Because it's really making that invitation, like we were saying before, making that space, cultivating those little chunks of time to be like, yeah, I'm open to this. Yeah, this can be another tool that I learn or tool that I utilize in my life that's there for me to help me make choices, help me navigate my inner GPS.
Yeah.
And just trusting that you know that you know. And being in the question without always searching for the answer. What can I do to cultivate my intuition? Or how can I know that I know? Or what action can I take? Or who would I be if I was trusting myself?
Yeah, like you said, like no need to look for an answer, just digest the question, right? And just stay with it to feel that, how that feels. Thank you very much, Sarah. It's been great. I'm so relaxed. And it's been great. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure that everybody in the audience who's hearing us will take a lot of advantage of these talks. So thank you very much. I hope you have a great day, and I'm sure we'll talk very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was great. Really enjoyed it.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Bye.
Bye.